Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm talking about networking and basically how you leverage personal relationships, right? But I just wanted to go over like how you use the things I talk about, right? So information is great, right? Information is like incredibly valuable, right? But if you don't use it for what it's intended to like be used for, you're not going to get any benefit from it, right? It's like having something that you can never use. It's never going to serve any benefit. Like having a piece of fruit that you can't eat, it's no good. Like there's no point in having it, right? And information and these little techniques and tips that I tell you guys is exactly the same thing, right? If you don't like apply them or use them, you're not going to get any benefit out of having them, right? Um, and that's kind of self-explanatory, but I felt like I needed to go over it, right? So now I'm talking about like networking and like basically leveraging personal relationships, right? So the first thing you need to do is you're going to have to learn to build personal relationships. Like that's pretty obvious. In order to leverage something, you're going to have to like build it first, right? So you basically just want to come up to people and you want to be friendly and you want to be someone that they want to be friends with, right? If you come up to someone and your attitude is all about what they can do for you, you're never going to get anywhere with building like your networking base, right? So you need to be someone that's friendly and someone that people want to be friends with, right? You can't go up with an expectant attitude of what are you going to do for me, right? You need to offer your services, and if they offer them back, then they're the type of person you want to be in business with, right? If they don't offer them back, well, you don't really have to take them up on what they offered you, right? So when you're at like networking events and stuff, you don't want to just be doing like pest work, right? So pest work is just like when you go and you hand out business cards and you're not really building relationships with anyone, but you're talking to a lot of people, right? That's nowhere near as important as building genuine relationships with people, okay? Because when you build a genuine relationship with people and they know what you do for a living, when they need that service, you're the first person that's going to pop into their head, right? So just going around and giving out business cards and stuff, like it can be effective to get your name out, but as far as networking goes, it's not really the best technique to use. It's kind of like a quantity over quality thing, right? So like we always go for quality, but the hard work gets us the quantity as well with the quality, right? So about networking, for those of you that don't know, it's basically just building relationships, right? And you can network your way to wealth, right? So by building relationships, lasting relationships with centers of influence, you basically put yourself in a position in the future, or maybe right now, to be able to like leverage that for your own gain, right? And so you don't really want to underestimate anyone. You want to keep your prejudice to a minimum and never underestimate someone that you could talk to, right? You always want to talk to everyone that you can. And this is basically because you don't know who that person knows or who that person may become, right? Because like Bill Gates, a bum probably knows Bill Gates. Do you know what I mean? So like through that bum's like contact list, you could basically like be in contact with Bill Gates and he could be a part of your network, right? So you never really want to underestimate anyone. But yeah, so 5 networking rules that you're going to have to follow, right? If you want to like increase your referrals, increase your income and increase your results is rule 1 is you have to embrace the philosophy of if you're not continuously attracting new customers and maintaining relationships with older customers, your business is never going to succeed, right? So that's the same for every business, but in particular, like network marketing is very much that way, right? If you're not touching base with your customers, which I'll go into at the end, if you're not touching base with your customers regularly and kind of like continuing to build the relationship as time goes on, I'm not saying every day, but you have to somewhat be in touch with them, right? You have to have a good relationship with them. So that if they change their mind in buying from you or like quit or something, they've got that emotional connection to you, right? They don't want to displease. Like it's always easier to say no to a stranger than a friend, right? So you want to build a friendship so it's harder to say no, right? So that's obviously rule 1. And then rule number 2 is your income is never going to increase until it matches your personal growth or your contacts list, right? So I think the personal growth thing is very, very true for our business in particular, because everyone wants that income that comes with having 1,000 people in your organization, right? But you're never going to have that income in our business until you can kind of like get 1,000 people to follow you, right? Or be the type of person that 1,000 people want to follow, right? So you're going to have the personal growth and the personal development and the character and integrity to have that 1,000 people follow you before they're actually going to follow you, right? And then obviously, like having your contact list large obviously ensures that you're in a better position when you need something to leverage people and centers of influence to help you, right? So obviously having a larger contact list is going to directly impact on your income, right? And then rule number 3, I kind of talked about it before, but it's never underestimate anyone, right? And I can't really stress that enough, right? Because as soon as you start closing yourself off to people, you're just not going to get as much done, right? You're going to be less active because you're picking and choosing. And you're basically just going to be a lot less active and get a lot less results. And then your results are going to make you have a bad attitude, which is probably going to make you even pickier. And then it's just going to snowball basically, right? And then rule number 4 is you need to understand the 2 things that networking is not, right? So it's not just going to these social functions, right? Because a lot of times when we go to the social functions, people are just going to they're going to talk to the people that they came with, right? And I'm not saying not to do that, because you definitely still need to touch base with pre-existing contacts, right? I talked about that a little earlier. But it's important that you're using like networking functions and social functions for like the best benefit they can give you, right? Which is to expand your network base, right? So the second thing networking is not is being a taker, right? So yeah, that basically means not approaching people with the intent of like taking their clients for your own good, right? You want to approach people with the intent to build a relationship and offer your service, right? And if they offer theirs, great. If they don't, like, you feel it out, you know what I mean? But yeah, you basically want to build lasting relationships and lasting friendships so that when they think of what of the service that you offer, you're the first person that comes into their mind, right? And by doing that, you'll find that you get a lot more referrals and a lot more revenue and income and everything, right? And then rule 5 is to position yourself to be remembered, right? So this is kind of like a precarious balance. You don't want to overdo it, right? So you want to build a friendship with this person, but you don't want to be remembered for any bad reasons or anything like that. And yeah, basically you want to be memorable so that when they think of your service, you're the first person they think of, right? And then networking is giving back, right? So a lot of people think networking is going out with the approach of what can this person do for me? It's not. It's going out with the approach of giving back to the community, right? You're basically going out with your generosity and hoping you get something in return, right? Because generosity and genuinity are the keys to building relationships with people, right? And the key, and obviously building relationships with people, especially in the business, is the key to building your income, right? And getting rich and financially like independent and all that stuff, right? So the key to networking, in the end, it's really like, it's about building relationships, sure, but in the end, it's about finding a problem and being the solution to that problem, or making it your goal to become the solution to that problem, right? And so that's kind of everything, but I'll talk a little bit about how you keep in contact with like old contacts and customers, right? So basically, there's a few ways to do it, right? But the number one way is emails, right? So everything doesn't have to be face-to-face. You can do emails, phone calls, birthday cards, Christmas cards, thank you notes if it's necessary, like if they did something to you, if they referred a client to you or something like that, right? Those are all really good ways to kind of encourage further commitment from them, right? And to continue building that relationship, right? Which is obviously so important, right? But one thing I will say about thank you notes, make sure they are handwritten, right? Because it makes it a lot more personal if it's like handwritten rather than like typed and sent through email and stuff. And try and have a sit down over lunch or something with these people every so often as well, because like all the forms of contact I just mentioned, they're great, but nothing beats the personal touch, right? And that's everything, guys. Have a good night.